If you love the look of watercolor but are kind of intimidated by the idea of doing it, you know, with a paintbrush and water and stuff, these are some super easy ways to get the similar look with stuff that you might have or stuff that's really easy to do it with. You don't need talent to do it. It's just a technique that you just dab it on there and you're good to go. So the products that we're using today, for the most part, are available on a couple of the websites that we're an affiliate with. I'm going to go ahead and do a blog post later today and link you to all the products, but we actually also provided a link to Blitsy, which is an awesome website that you guys are going to want to check out. If you'd like to get good deals on various sorts of craft supplies, Blitsy has a lot of cool stuff. And they actually run stuff you know, like a sale for a few days. So they might bring in a big load of, let's say like Tim Holtz stuff, and it'll be on a really good sale, but it'll only be available for 3 days. So it's really fun to check them out every day and just see what's new. A couple other things we love about Blitsy: they do accept manufacturer's coupons. So if something is regular price or their price at their regular price, you can use manufacturer's coupons to save some money. So cool, right? And then they do a lot of awesome deals as well. For example, right now going on, if you've never shopped with Blitsy and you sign up with them for your email, if you shop within 24 hours of signing up, you get $10 off of a $40 purchase. So we're going to be showing you Tombow markers today on how to do a really cool technique with Tombow. And these are dual pen brush markers, and that is actually what I have linked. If you click that link for Blitsy, this is where it'll take you. But yeah, it's pretty easy to spend $40 on scrapbooking stuff, as I'm sure many of you know. So if you're new to Blitsy, definitely look at that coupon and think about taking advantage of it. But let's show you the couple things I'm going to go over today. So this card here, how cute, right? This part I watercolor, and seriously, you guys, it'll take me like 2 minutes to make that look just like that. And it's so easy to do. I mean, even a kid could do it. And then the other one that I'm going to show you, actually this is paper, and we'll tell you about that. But the technique I did on here was using some daubers and some pigment ink, and I will go through the steps on that as well. So I think we're going to start with the watercolor technique on this card. Now, a couple of things you're going to need to know. Like I said, we're using the Tombow markers. These are water-based markers. They have a nice brush tip on one side, and then they have a really fine kind of more like a marker tip on the other side. So you can use them for, you know, coloring in your adult coloring books. You could use them for journaling. You can use them for a lot of different things, but you also can use them to make this cool watercolor technique. Tombows come in like 100 different colors too, so no matter what sort of shade you want to get, you can do that. Now, another key to get this technique is you're going to need to use a special kind of paper. You can use a watercolor paper, or what I'm using is actually called Bristol Vellum, and I checked. Blitsy carries actually this almost exact same pad, and it comes with 9x12 sheets in it. And so, you know, if you're cutting it down to little pieces like this, you're going to get a ton of use out of your paper pack. Honestly, I think I have had this paper pad for, I don't know, 4 years. So if that tells you, it lasts a long time. But the reason you need this special paper is it's like, I don't know if we can show it, but it's actually like a little bit thicker, and it's got kind of a little texture to it. It's hard to see, but it's kind of absorbent, like a paper towel. It's kind of what I liken it to, because it'll soak in the paper and it'll hold it in there. If you try this technique on like a regular cardstock, it's not going to dry properly and you're not going to get the same effect. So you do want to make sure that you either have a watercolor paper or a Bristol Vellum like I'm using, and then you'll get the same technique. So what I did is I cut some of that Bristol paper down just to about the size of my acrylic block. Now this is just a handy acrylic block that if you own like stamps from whatever company, you usually have to buy one of these acrylic blocks to stick the stamp to. That's all this is. Now you can probably also buy something very similar to this at like a, I don't even know, probably a home improvement store, I imagine, because it's just an acrylic block. Really all you're using this for is to color on, to create the look. So, and then the last thing you need is water in a little spritzer. Now I got this cute little mini mister, and this is by Ranger, but you can just use like a squirt bottle too. This is just nice because it's got kind of a little area that it sprays in, so you're not getting all wet and making a mess. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2 of them, and I'm gonna do them with the same colors so you guys can see. You're gonna get a little bit different look every time you do it, but that's also kind of the fun of it. So I'm thinking on this one that I use these 4 colors. I didn't pull them aside when I did it, which was kind of silly, but all you're gonna do is take your tip off and use the brush side, and you are just gonna color on your black. No rhyme or reason, you can just, you know, roughly color, and then you'll go on to your next color. Again, just color on that block. And you can use, you know, any size block that you want. If you have a big one, you can use a big one. You have a small one. That'll be how much of the watercolor will show up on your paper when you stamp it. And then one more. Okay. So I'm doing kind of just a rectangle shape. Okay, that is all colored in now. Now see, since this is a water base, it doesn't dry on here. It just kind of sits on the top of the acrylic. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mister. I'm going to go over here just so I don't get my projects wet. And I'm just going to spray it. And you want to spray it pretty liberally. And actually sometimes I kind of let it move back and forth so it kind of gets into different colors. And then all you're going to do is take that and you just press it down onto your paper, and see how the water kind of pushes the colors all out. And then you pull it up, and what you can do is if you have excess, this is just a paper towel, and you can kind of dab it off there. And then you just let this sit for not very long at all, and like I said, this watercolor paper is just gonna suck it right up. So see, this is almost dry already. And see, even I use the same colors, and I even got a little bit different look than I did the first time. So I'm going to do this one more time for you guys so you can see the technique so you don't miss it. But I mean, really, how easy is that, right? And if you're a card maker already, you probably have some of these things in your stash. And if you're like me, you probably bought Tombos because you thought, you know, it's cool to have Tombos, but you had no idea what to do with them. So this is a good way to use them. I'm going to use the same colors, and we're just going to try it one more time. So again, you're just going to take the brush tip side, and you're just going to color on there. You see how it's beading a little bit? That's because my stamp block was a little wet, but it really doesn't matter because once you spray it again, it's all going to kind of mix together anyway. And you can use, you know, lighter colors for a more subtle watercolor, or you can use the darker colors like I'm doing if you want it to be a little brighter. Yellow. Okay. And then again, now that it's all colored, take it over here. I'm going to spray it a few times, and then I'm going to kind of let it move back and forth so some of the colors want to mix. And then again, I just line it up on my paper and press down. And there we go.
Christy wants to know what kind of paper did you say that was?
The one I am using right here is called Bristol. And actually, if you are on Blitsy, if you search Bristol Vellum Pad, you will get just about this exact same, it's I think a white cover instead of a yellow color, but this is called Bristol Vellum. You can also use what's called a watercolor paper. I think they're probably almost exactly the same thing. This I just happened to buy in a pad, where the watercolor paper I think a lot of times is sold individually. And yeah, I mean, it just comes and then you can just rip it out. So yeah, Bristol Vellum. So there is the second one. And see, isn't that cool how I do it, you know, right in a row, and I did the exact same thing, and you still get a little bit different look and each time, and yet it's still pretty every time. I mean, it looks like a painting to me, but seriously, it didn't take nearly as long as a painting would. So, and then I did that one in the kind of the blues and greens and stuff. So this card I thought was perfect because you can use this sort of background for whatever, and then just stamp, I just stamped a black flower silhouette on there, and then wrap some baker's twine around that. Just to remind you guys too, we do carry baker's twine on our website in lots of different colors. Black and white is very versatile for everything, but we do have lots of different colors. And all I did was wrap it around that block a few times, stamp my little sentiment on the cardstock, and boom. I mean, how easy, right?
Tina has a good question.
Sure.
She wants to know, are these watercolor markers?
They are, well, you can use them for various things. I know a lot of people do use them for this, or I know on the packaging, all they are called are dual tip pens, and they are a water-based ink. But what other people will do with these too, if you have stamps, this is a clear stamp, with these you can also color directly on the stamp and then stamp it to get, you know, this color instead of using an ink pad. You can do that, and that's actually what I bought mine for a long time ago. That was the technique that I knew about, and so that's what I used it for. But then I saw this technique and I thought, that is cool, I'm going to use that. So yeah, I guess that's as good of an answer as I have right now. I hope that helps.
And Debbie, these are Tombow markers.
Tombow, yep, it's Tombow.
Yeah.
Right here.
Tombow.
Yep. Okay, so that was technique number 1. And in case you guys are wondering about the stamp sets, these are by Paper Smoochies. I love their stamps. They stamp very cleanly and they're super cute. Like I said on the blog, I'm going to post later today, and I will post links to those if you like either of these sets, where to get your hands on them. But just so you know, that's the brand name, is Paper Smooches. Okay, so should we do the technique on this next card? This one is super easy. Mostly I just did the dauber technique here on this little flower. But why don't we talk a little bit about the background paper that I used too. So I showed you how to do your own, right? But if you don't have time, or you don't have patience, or you don't want to do that, look at this cool paper you guys can get. I mean, how pretty is that? It looks almost exactly the same, except it comes this way. And this pack, I mean, you get all these different colors. Some of them look kind of tie-dyed, more, and actually what's really neat is, so this side is more like all color, and then on the reverse you get the side that's got some white on it. So on my card I use the side that has some white on it, just so it wasn't quite as vibrant, but you could really use either side for any number of projects. And we thought these are perfect for card makers, just because they're the 6x6 size. And so you can trim them down, and it's just like, boom, you've got a background ready to go, and it looks beautiful. So we wanted to share those with you. And these are actually by Ken Oliver, and they are called Color Burst Splash, and it's a 6x6 pack. I believe that you can also get these in a bigger size. We just got them in the smaller size because we thought we'd use them for cards and such. And again, if you check out our blog later, I'll post the link. I will show you where you can get your hands on these as well. Okay, so let's start on this technique. So for this flower, I just have my stamp. My hands are all covered with ink. This is what happens when you craft, you get dirty. And then I have my ink pads. Now seriously, aren't these ink pads just beautiful colors? I love these colors. These ink pads are actually pigment-based ink. And these are by a company that actually only sells off of their website, and I can link to these too on the blog in case you are interested. But I just love the colors, and these are ones I had in my stash, so I thought I would use them. These little dauber guys, usually you can get these in 3-packs, 6-packs, you can get them in multi-packs, but all they are is like a little plastic thing, and then they've got this little sponge tip on them. And I don't even know, what else are these used for? Do you know, Joanne, what else people use these for? You can use them for inking the edges of things if you wanted to. I don't know what their original purpose is, but this is what I always use. But how this technique works is usually you start with whatever your lightest color is and then work out, just because otherwise you get the darker colors on your ink pads and then it's kind of a mess. On this card, I'm using kind of colors that are very similar, so I use the kind of purplish with the blue first, and then I do the darker purple last. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dauber, and then you just dab it right on that ink pad, and then you just tap it on your stamp wherever you want it. Okay, I'm going to start in the center. Then I'm going to take the next color, go to the next ink pad, and then I'm going to go around the outside and kind of layer up that color. Okay, and then the last color I have, I'm going to go, and this one I'm just going to kind of dab on there in a few different places. Okay, and then we have the green. Now this technique is nice because you can kind of get it in smaller areas, and so you're not covering the entire stamp all the time, you know, where if you stamp the whole thing you would have to have the whole thing purple or the whole thing pink, where this way you can kind of target different areas. Once it's all inked up, since they're pigment inks, they take a little bit longer to dry, but I always recommend the huffing technique, where you breathe on it and that kind of reactivates the ink. So you do that, and then you just stamp it wherever you want it. And see how you get those colors to mix together like that? I mean, how cool, right? And you can actually, you could keep stamping right over the top of this, because I've done a set of cards like this and I just leave the color on there and just go right over the top. Once you stamp it, it's not going to pick up most of the color, so you should be good. But it's just kind of a cool, I think it almost gives a watercolor look with ink, which is pretty neat. So yeah, so that's how to do that. And you can do this on, you know, any size stamp that you have too. I've done it especially for flowers. I think it looks pretty. Butterflies, it looks really pretty. Just kind of delicate images, it always looks really nice. And you could always add glitter and stuff to the flower as well. So that is that technique. And again, I'm using the Paper Smooches words here for the happy everything, and then that vase and that flower came in this set, which is like the ball jar set, which I think is super cute. And then I use that paper for the background. So some pretty easy techniques today that just look really pretty. We thought you guys might think that was kind of fun. Since we're always doing scrapbooking, we wanted to do something a little bit different today. And we do have some things planned for coming up too, where we're going to do some more DIY crafts and things like that we really think you guys are going to like. So definitely check back on our page, and don't forget, if you are not a VIP email list member with us, I don't know why you're not, but you should be. And it's super easy to sign up, and all you have to do is on our Facebook page, go up to the banner, and right below that there is a sign up button, and you click that, it'll take you right to our website. And just so you remember, when you sign up, when you make that first purchase, you're going to get a free kit with that purchase. So buy one, get one. I mean, how cool is that, right? And we do have a deal if you're in the US and you spend $75, you get free shipping too. Yes, awesome. So again, check this post back later. I'm going to link to our blog so you can figure out where to shop for all this stuff. Otherwise, follow that link in the post right now, and that'll take you to Blitsy, and you can do some searching on your own in the meantime. So thanks for joining us today, and thanks, ladies, for the questions. And be sure to let us know if you come up with anything in the meantime, because we're happy to answer any questions you have. We will see you tomorrow when we release a new kit for the week, so be sure to come back then. All right, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.